Economic diversification has been a policy priority for low and middle income economies spanning Asia, Africa, and others. In the words of former managing director of the International Monetary Fund, Christine Lagarde, she said, "We know that economic diversification is good for growth. But is Africa taking advantage of the opportunities presented to it in agriculture?" This is the big question before us today. Good morning to you and welcome to Just Africa. My name is Oyinpreye Krumale. Good morning, Olumide.
Good morning, Priye. How are you doing today?
I'm okay. How are you? So I was tempted to ask, like, which of the cereals you had this morning? Is it cassava flour, the one we popularly called gari?
In the morning.
In Nigeria, well, you could bake it.
Okay,
and you can drink it.
You're
What's wrong with if you can do cassava flour like cornflakes? Why can't you take the cassava flour in gari fashion in the morning? So I was going to ask, and all this are in agriculture.
Yes.
Before independence, the mainstay of the Nigerian economy is said to be agriculture. But as we speak, since the discovery of oil in our land,
yes,
we seem to have abandoned the agriculture, not just only the potential of agriculture, the granite pyramids we used to have in the northern part of the country,
yes,
and how we took care of that locally to satisfy industrial needs and also to export out of the country. You know, the question has been asked times without number, even from agriculturists, that what happened? How did we leave that completely? And now that we seem to be going back to agriculture, we have several other challenges right in front of us. We can't begin to talk about banditry, terrorism, and all of that. So when you think about that, what comes to mind?
You know, agriculture is supposed to contribute 25% to the gross domestic product. It employs about 35% of the country's farming workforce. So, and Nigeria is blessed. We should be world powers. We should be leading in Africa, not just in Africa, but around the globe. But just like you rightly said, there's a whole lot that is, I mean, we can't even, if we decide to talk about insecurity, it will take the whole show. But there are a whole lot. But the good thing about it is that agriculture is also growing with technology. Technology has now made it easier. There was a time I interviewed someone who even told me that you can actually, you don't need farmland, you don't need vast land to plant crops, anything. You can actually do it at your backyard with technology. That's how beautiful. So if we can actually go back to agriculture, then we have to also create awareness. What are the youth doing? How can we make it, how will I put it, make it,
you know, like enticing for the youth
to go into, talking about entrepreneurship and all that. It's a whole lot, But we actually, you know, need to look at the state of farming right now, the course and the way forward. So
okay, I see that, and we see that very clearly. So farming in Africa holds a significant potential for economic diversification, business expansion, and employment generation. You know, by investing in agricultural development, African countries can create sustainable food supplies, reduce poverty and hunger, and build resilience against external shocks like climate change. And this sector also offers opportunity to diversify economies, reduce import dependency, and, you know, revive rural areas. And many African countries generally, and Nigeria specifically, rely on natural resources like oil and minerals, making their economies vulnerable to price fluctuations. Diversifying into agriculture can reduce the dependency and create a more balanced economic base. My guest today is Opeyemi Oluwasanya. I bet I got that right. She's a civil servant and an agriculturalist. She's a farmer of both food crops, both poultry, fish farming, and also other produce. She joins us via Zoom this morning to have a conversation about agriculture and its potential for Africa and indeed Nigeria. Good morning to you, Mrs. Oluwasanya. And many thanks for joining us this morning on the program, Just Africa.
Oh, good morning. I'm very happy to be on the show this morning, and it's a privilege. Good morning, big leaders. Thank you for having me.
This morning. Thank you for joining us this morning. I hope you can hear me clearly. So let's begin to talk about Africa and its potential for development. Not its potential, I beg your pardon, let's talk about agriculture and its potential for development, not only within the continent of Africa, but also more specifically in Nigeria. I'm glad that you are an agriculturist and agri-farmer, and you must have seen it all, doing poultry and crop production in Nigeria. So tell us, what seemed to be the downfall from the days of the granite pyramids that we used to have in northern Nigeria before the discovery of oil, and how we veered away from that path, and now we seem to want to find our way back to the golden goose that used to lay the golden egg before independence?
Thank you very much for this opportunity, and it's a privilege because as a farmer, as an agriculturist, agronomist to be precise, in Nigeria of today, what we are trying to do is to popularize agriculture, to encourage the youths, the the people to come back into agriculture. Because if I want to tell you, for the past ages, this is what our forefathers have been doing, and they have been doing excellently well in it. But the moment there is discovery of oil, our governments diverted from that. Maybe because of some of I would say there are some agricultural activities that takes time before it can yield. And sometimes we always look for instant money. Nobody wants to stress themselves. Nobody wants to go under duress or something before they can get food on their table. But that is not it. The country today is advanced. We are now in advanced age. But let me tell you about agriculture. Agriculture creates regeneration. It's an embodiment of wealth on its own. If you know about this, you will know that truly there is wealth, there is money, there is greater opportunities for somebody to venture into. And agriculture is so vast, is very large, is wide, not just to go to the farm to carry hoe and cutlass. The have is like in a chain. A farmer, you can be a farmer and be a distributor. You can be a farmer and be a marketer. You might not even know. For example, every one of us, we eat every day. But what are these things that we eat? Who are these people? Where did we get all these? We have the farmers. Those are the peasant ones that are in the farm, in the village, that the one cultivating all this. Then we have the ones that goes to them to source for this. They call them agents, board agents. Some of them goes into all these villages to all these peasant farmers to get the raw materials, to get all this for their industry. They process them, they take them out. And we have people that also into distribution. We have people that do the packaging, that do the processing. So it's so vast. Anywhere you fit, anywhere you think you can fit in, you are good to go. And you get what you want from it. Like I said, it's an embodiment of wealth. And in the world of today, you cannot do without agriculture, even the industry that we have, because they depend on these farmers, they depend on agriculture, they depend on the raw materials gotten from the agriculture before they can do anything. So all I know is that there are so many challenges, so many problems that I've been facing, like what my brother said earlier, talking about the insecurity, talking about the climate change, but still then talking about the new innovation and technology, bringing them into agriculture to make it more easier and more popularized and more encouraging for people to venture into.
All right. Thank you so much, Oluwasanya. Now, when We're going to go on a break shortly. Now, when we come back from the break, we will be looking at other aspects of agriculture, and most of the time, you will be telling us the experiences you've had, doing the poultry and the crop productions and some of the distributive chains and your experiences in that sector. Do stay with us. It's just Africa on Soup News Television. Good morning to you once again and welcome. Many thanks for joining us. It's Just Africa. We have been speaking with an agriculturist, Opeyemi Oluwasanya, and she's been talking to us about the significance of farming and agriculture in the country and its potential to develop not only Africa, but specifically Nigeria, since this is where we are located. Welcome once again to the program, Opeyemi Oluwasanya.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us. Now, let's go straight to business again. You were talking to us about the distribution chain, but talk to us about your experience, how you ventured into farming, what attracted you into farming, and the potential that it holds for young Africans, for young Nigerians out there, and most especially its potential for money and income generation.
Thank you very much. Like I used to share with people anytime I have the privilege to talk about agriculture. This started when I was in university some years back. I was given a course, though my parents wanted me to be a nurse. But sorry, I cannot read for long. So after getting my admission, I from 100 level, I noticed that no, this is not where I belong. So I took a change of course form and I entered a agricultural department, that is agronomy. I went for agronomy, and that deals with soil science and crop production. And I was doing excellently well. So it was during that period I had this passion for farming and rearing of animals. So the moment I finished after my savings year, I already had the mind and determination that immediately I finished, I'm going to start my own poultry box. And truly, as God will have it, I was able to acquire some money from my Alawi then, 19,800. So I was saving 13,000 every year. And at the end of the day, after I finished, my parents supported me as well financially. So I got a place by myself. I started with quail bird. You know, quail bird is just a very small bird that has a small egg, very medicinal. Every part of quail is medicinal. So that was what I started with. I started rearing by myself from the brooding stage. I reared 600 birds by myself from the brooding stage to the time they started laying. And everything that was going on perfectly with the help of my parents, though sometimes they come around. They also help me to advertise. You know, there's something that needs to be done in agriculture. If you don't have passion for it, please don't even go for it because there are ups and downs. If you don't have this shock absorber to hold it, my brother, you might not want to further. So despite that, I said, this is what I have passion for. I can go into it. And that was how the whole thing started. That was when my journey started from. I started doing well. I go to supermarkets to market my goods by myself. My grandmother, I even brought in my grandmother to be partaker of this. People when customer comes to the house, my mom, even if I'm not there, they try to advertise for them the benefits of doing this, you know. And when people see me packing all the waste in the morning, they'll be like, why out with a girl like this? A young graduate doing this. Well, I found joy doing it and I was making my money. Seriously, I was making my money. Then when it comes to the part of the feeding aspect, I was using the money, the sales of the egg to feed the girls later on. And the most easiest part of it was that I was able to be formulating my feed by myself. I get the raw materials around my environment. And that is another usefulness of being in agriculture, making use of what you have around you. These resources are there. God has blessed us. But we just have to utilize all these resources around us. I was able to use the resources around me, the raw materials within my community to formulate feed for my birds. And from there, I got the government job and before that, I started my fish pond as well. I started with 2,000 figurines. I was running these with the poultry and with also teaching in a private school then, where they were even paying me 16,000 naira. You know, I was just doing that. And before you know it, when I got this government job that I'm doing presently, I have a boss that still encourages and give the platform for me to grow more and even to pass this information to the younger ones. Like now, I'm in a secondary school where I'm teaching a government secondary school, and I could tell you that my students are doing excellently well because now we bring in researchers from research institutes around us to come and even help us on how to go into the technology part of it, the new innovations that we need, so that these children will not be running away and to reduce the movement, the migration of people from the rural to the urban. So, with all this, that was how the journey started, and it has been successful. My colleagues, we are there, we do training for them, workshop. For those that have lands that they don't know what to do with their land, we tell them how to go about it. This is what you can do with your land. This is what you will get. These are the way you can reduce the cost of your production. All I know is that everything around me is not a waste. Let me talk about the challenges that I faced. Sometimes, sometimes the financial aspect is a big challenge. But what I do is I meet people that have the money. You have the idea, and you have people that have the money. You don't have the money, but you have the idea. How can you collaborate together? You tell them the little of the idea that you have. Tell them the profits they are going to get, the benefits they are going to get from it. My brother, they will drop some percentage of money for you. Then you start. Now you are not like investor. People come around you, they invest. Then you use that to boost what you are doing. So at the end of the day, you pay them some certain percentage based on the laid down agreements and rules. These are the ways I've been trying to bring people around me, even the students. We inculcate them into what we are doing. And it has been very, very successful. Now we have so many opportunities in agriculture that has been helping us. In my house, I plant my vegetables that I take. Even if I don't have a land, it doesn't matter whether you have a land. You can carry out your planting in a sack, in a bucket. When it comes to farming, when it comes to poultry, you can start with one or two. Before you know it, will start growing. And when you're saying, where will I get money to buy feed? My brother, you can look around you, source for feed around you. Maize are there, the maize cobs are there. You can grind them together, mix all these things together. You formulate your feed by yourself and you get what you want. All this, we make it so easy for our children, the youth, and also the people that are around us that see. You mustn't carry all, like I used to tell them. That is this occupation is not stopping you from being your medical doctor, from being a medical doctor, from being an engineer. You can even have a small something beside your house at your backyard and you are good to go. All we are trying to say is that agriculture needs to be popularized and be encouraged. We need people so that we can feed ourselves. It's when you feed yourself, that's when you can feed the nation or the world. If you cannot feed yourself, what will you feed the people are outside there? You need to feed yourself. You need to produce what you are consuming. We mustn't go outside the country to get what we need to eat. Everything God has blessed us. I'm using Nigeria as an example. God has blessed.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Oluwasanya. Thank you very much. You said that you had financial challenges, while in the course of farming and all that. So I would like to ask you a very small question. I'm sure you're familiar with the Anchor's Borrowers Program, the Anchor Borrowers Program. A lot of people have been calling for the continuation. So I would like to ask, what are your thoughts about the Anchor Borrowers Program? Were you a beneficiary? How can the government improve on this?
Though about the Hancock program, I wasn't a beneficiary of it. Though when it comes to the financial aspect of my own side, I look elsewhere to get money. Like I said when I was talking, how I get money sometimes to finance my things is when I have the idea and I have people that has money around me, and I know I sell little of my ideas to them and tell them the benefits. I give them reasons why I want to venture into this. I see them as a mentor, people that want me to grow. When you have people around you that have money and maybe they don't know what they can use their money to do, you understand? When I share this idea with them, they buy into it. It's the way you sell yourself. I try to market myself to them so that they can buy into the idea. So from there, I get my source of capital that I use.
So I'm glad that you had the wherewithal to be able to. But my question now is, how can the government meet the people? Now, you found a way to gather up some funds and all that. But what about those who do not have this fund? So my question is, this Anchor Borrowers program, what loopholes or how can the government improve on this program to be able to meet smallholder farmers, so that they can have access to large processors?
Now, this is where the issue is, and this is where I want the government to help those peasant farmers that really needs this money to get this money. You know, in Nigeria of today, we have the bottleneck that they are the one that be the forefront to get all these things and deny the people that really needed this money to get it. I think the government needs to create a policy that will go down to the grassroots level, not just to be on the television, not just to be at the top there and be talking about this. Why not go to the rural, to the grassroots level, where these farmers, these villages, these are where we have these passionate farmers that really needed this money to work, that really needed this money to expand their business from being a subsistence farmer to a commercial farmer, getting roots to them. And this can only be through visiting villages. We have leaders in the village. Like I used to tell people that we have extension, then we used to have extension agents. I don't know whether they are still well functioning well, or maybe some. I can't even really talk about this extension, whether they are still there, because these are the works of the extension agents. The extension agents are the people that goes to the rural area. They are the ones that goes to the village and gets information about these peasant farmers, what their problem, what their challenges are, and how to go about them. They are like intermediary between this peasant farmer and the government. And these are the people that when the farmer communicates to them about the challenges they're having, about funds, about chemicals and the rest like that, they pass their information, they pass this to the government. And when the government hears about it, they bring about policy that will help these people. And when they release this, by okay, for example, now some farmers will tell you that when they go to the bank, to get a loan, they give them so many rules, and you need to bring somebody, the collateral, and of which they don't have this. But we also encourage farmers to form a cooperative society. Having a cooperative society as well can help them to access loans from the government. And also, government should try to subsidize some of these seeds, varieties, some of these chemicals, these drugs, all these things that are needed by the farmer. They should subsidize it for them so that these people can have access, especially those that do not even have money to get all this, so that they can have the privilege of getting it. They need to subsidize some of the materials that the farmers needed, and they should release loan. They should release money for these people. Let the money flow to the grassroots. We have so many mediums that they can use to get to the grassroots level. These are the people that really needed it. And also, this we also encourage the youth of today. When they see how government is turning out, it will help them to venture into this. So I think this is the only way, just getting through to the roots, to the grassroots level. Because without
All right,
that,
Opeyemi Oluwasanya, thank you so much. I think you've really painted quite a good picture for us to have a clear understanding about the connection between the government and the peasant farmers, those that are the grassroots of farming. But there's one significant question I would like to ask you, because you have been participating and actively involved in the process about crop production. There's this complaint in Nigeria that farmers do not have access to vast market, meaning that some of them, they are into cash production like you, and when there's harvest, they don't have the farms, they don't have the market to take these products to. And sometimes because they are products that can go bad and they lose lots of money. So do you have access to market? And if you don't, tell us about your access to market that you have and the products mainly that you deal in and the things that you've put in place to make sure that these products don't go bad, that immediately you carry out your harvest, you take it straight to the market, or if the government buys them from you, the remaining part of it.
okay, thank you very much. When we talk about farming, talking about it's not just to harvest and consume. And how many can we even consume? We have stages in agriculture. We have the parts after the harvesting, the process, the processing part of it before it gets to the finish, before it gets to the consumer. Like me, I always use myself as an example. Before I ventured into any agricultural activities, I look inward, I look around myself. What are the things that my community needed? What are those things that is needed by my community, by people around me before I go outside? By the time I'm able to sort the people within my community, then I can talk about the outside people. Now, what the crops that I ventured into is we have corn because I have a poultry and I have a fish pond I'm rearing. So majorly, I personally am number one market for myself, then also for people around me. Like like I told you, I'm a civil servant. Another another cause a market that I have are my colleagues, people around me in my place of work, in another schools, and also another reason why the government needs to helps the farmer is about the technological part of it. How do they create this market? That is where the technology comes. Thank God for social media of today that you can now easily go online, either Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, try to streamline your activities, what you are doing, and make it popularized so that people will know what you are doing and how you are doing it. Now, what about this farmer that does not have access to this? This is where the government extension, like I used to say, extension agent is really, really needed. Because when the function of this extension agent is to create channel for these farmers, to create marketplace, where can they sell their goods? Where can they sell their goods? And if there is no market yet, how can they work on their products into a finished goods? What are the processing facilities that are on ground? I can give you an example of what I'm doing. I have a three-in-one that I call it DAPS three-in-one choco drink that I made by myself, I produced by myself from cocoa. How did I got this? Sometimes when I go to the southwest, I get this cocoa in quantity. I process them by myself, sun drying, I fry, then grind into powder form. And when I grind into powder form, I mix some other ingredients around me to this and make my own three-in-one choco drink, which myself and my family we are taking, and people around me that knows about it that we are taking. And this now we cost, we reduce the issue of marketing from this cocoa. Now, I got this product, the cocoa seed, I processed it into powder form and form my own chocolate drinks. Same thing with my vegetables. When I plant vegetables, I use part of these vegetables after harvesting, I sun dry them, I cut it into powder form and mix it with my chicken feed as well. When I plant some of these vegetables, I also know how to incorporate it into feed formulation for my fishes. So many opportunities, nothing waste around me. So I always look inward to get the market within myself and also before I go out. And the first thing you need to do to get your market, the reason is what are those things that people around you need? What are those challenges they are facing in getting this? Then you can now venture. You don't just wake up in the morning and say, I want to be a farmer. I want to start producing this. Do people around you really need this product or need this produce? Just get what they need and what is lacking in the community. Then you start from there. Before you know it, that's when you can now see people coming around. Before you know it, you have the social media, you meet people that connect you to the internet, you program this, you make awareness of your mark or of your produce, and people start ordering for it online. So I think
Mrs. Oluwasanya, thank you very much for your thoughts. So one quick question. We are witnessing climate change. So I'd like you to briefly touch on climate change. We are moving, or should I say we are in the rainy season, and this time of the year, states like Benue and some other states, even last year, a particular state, half of a particular state went underwater. So what recommendations would you make for farmers in states where they are prone to these climate changes?
About this climate, that's another problem we are facing as a farmer, the climate change. Every now and then, things are changing. Then as a farmer, we need to look inward and plant crops that are drought resistant. We need to look inward in how to conserve our water. We need to look inward in how to manage the water resources that we have around us, and also to plant crops that resistance to all this, because when there is flood, it brings about infestation of pests, disease, and the rest. And we mustn't wait until when the rainy season comes. And that is another problem And another challenge is that we are facing that people wait until when it's rainy season before they plant. It shouldn't be like that. You shouldn't wait until when it's dry season. Our farming should be season in and season out all year round. That is where the irrigation system is important. Having an irrigation system, and you can only have irrigation system where you have a water conservation. If you are not conserving your water, where will you get even the water to supply to your crops? So we are encouraging people to try not to look at the weather, because the more you look at the weather, the climate condition, seriously, you will not do anything. You just have to look for a way around it by planting crops that are resistant to this, and also try as well to go into irrigation farming. This
Right.
weekend,
Thank you very much. Now, I need to ask you this question because young people these days only engage in illegal ventures that can fetch them money. So now you are in famine. Now, please tell us, in each farming season, probably you can reference 5 seasons back or 3 seasons back, but in each farming season, could you please tell us, like, how much do you make?
this question, as a farmer, what we get, we incorporate it back into the business. And like I told you, that I have a lot that I'm doing. I
How much do you make? We are trying to get to the lucrative side of farming and the business aspect of it, which you've been talking about, but we also need to know the outcome so that others who are watching can not only be motivated by passion. These days, your passion have to bring food and money on your table. So passion cannot alone sustain you. So how much do you make? Probably myself and Olumide can leave journalism and jump into farming as we speak.
My brother, you don't need to leave journalism before you be a farmer. So I wouldn't want you to leave your job. You can still be a journalist and have a small farm, have something beside
You
you.
make. Yeah.
Let me talk about averagely in a month. Let me just use a month, not because mm, I think I've a million. Sorry,
That's a month.
months, because
We are living journalism in a month.
It's quite
So
lucrative.
in a year, how much are we talking about?
We're looking at 6 million.
6 million naira. So, Ms. Opeyemi, so you could say so roughly you make 6 million naira in a year. How long have you been in the business, and how have you been able to monitor your growth as a farmer in terms of expanding your business?
like I told you that this thing started when I immediately I finished my service year, I started this. But after some years, after I got the government job, there was a breakage from them, and the job limited me that period, so I couldn't to get land here. I'm here in Abuja, so to get land or to even rent, it's so I just try to thank God I have a mentor. I have a mentor, which is one of my bosses that really gave me the platform to grow. Malam Zero, thank you very much. I need to acknowledge the man. That's in my school. We have the poultry. So I started from there before I have my own personally. So that's how we started. And most time we started with 100 beds before we started growing. And also I joined business with my brother at home that is also into fish pond as well presently. So I do collaboration with people.
All right.
I'm certain. So
All right. Without food, nobody grows healthy. You see Olumide here looking this good. It's because of eating some very good pounded yam, some good yam skins, the ones we call amala, right? And the rice, the vegetables.
Yes.
And tell me, let's talk. Look about countries, agriculture, and I cannot just keep taking our minds back to what used to happen during the days of the Granite Pyramid and our currently Benue State. though it has been under siege, it is called the food basket of the nation. And whoever gave that name as the motto of that state must have, seen all the nook and the crannies of that state, just the way you look at Kogi State and say, okay, we have so many oil minerals in this state. You look at Delta State, like, okay, we have those are the resource control people who lay the goose egg, the crude oil. You look at Benue State, you talk about food. And why government, sometimes government is not only saddled with the responsibility of creating the enabling environment, but also taking part in the business, because now we have the NNPC, now NNPCL, which means that it's saddled with the responsibility of equally making profits for the government. So we can equally have government delve into agriculture after opening up the space, but itself being a participant, so that we can have the space really open. Because if government does not participate, how is it going to feel what the subsistent farmer or the peasant farmer, the head of society is feeling, and the needs that they will need to grow?
I like how you said government participation, because government participation also requires taking care of insecurity. Benue that you talked about, there's a whole lot going there. The state is torn apart with so many clashes here and there, herders, farmers, and all that. And it's quite sad. I said, when I joined my NYSC, I was posted to Benue State, Makodi. So I know how the place is. It's a beautiful place. The land is vast, and they have rich culture, food, and all that. And it's actually the food basket of the nation, even though looking at what is happening right now, it is not. Now, not to digress, I had the opportunity to travel to Ghana, and I tasted chocolate made in Ghana. And I thought to myself, we produce cocoa in Nigeria. Why can't we do this?
We can supply Ghana. Even if we don't do the chocolate,
Ghana also produces,
because we used to.
Yes.
Now, even if we don't, like you tasted good chocolate in Ghana. So we produce cocoa, and we take advantage of the African Free Continental Trade Area, and we transport the raw materials to Ghana, who goes into the process of making chocolate. Of course, they can ship it back to Nigeria and also ship outside Africa. But the thing is,
why can't we produce it here? Why ship it there? That's my question. Ghana too has cocoa. They produce chocolate. In fact, side by side, you have the imported chocolate, you have the one made in Ghana, side by side, and people are buying it. I tasted the two.
And there's no difference.
There's slightly.
When you say slight difference, like better, which...
No, I'm not talking about better. I mean
better.
Sweeter.
Sweeter.
Yes.
Okay.
Because you have the dark chocolate and you have the normal chocolate. I mean, it's good. It's premium. So rather than exporting it to Ghana, we can actually do it here. Maybe the government and the private sector can partner, bring in investors that would harvest these crops and produce chocolate. I know Nigerians like chocolate. We all like chocolate. So it's a very lucrative... There are some countries that depend solely on this. We have more than that. We have cocoa, we have cotton, we have so many things. We have cashew. What can we do with this? How can we... Then again, how can we now make it enticing for entrepreneurs to go into this? I know, yes, there's a whole lot. There's insecurity. We can't take away insecurity, especially in the north and all that, banditry and all that. But in the southwest, in the south, what can we do?
I see. Though sounds like a rhetorical question. However, for those whom the question is meant for, government being a participant, and of course, prospective investors will need to come into the space to invest their funds also. But the government needs to create the enabling environment.
Yes.
Apart from that, a month ago, we experienced and we heard that Nigeria's non-oil export trickled. Non-oil export. It trickled, and most of it came from agriculture.
Yes.
There are some South American countries whose area of domain just had to do with production of coffee.
Yes.
And some of them, though, they have the raw materials right in their country, but not all of it is sourced from it. Sometimes because of demand and the need for production and how they have their customers or their clients to be supplied and exporting to different countries, they could even source their raw materials from other countries, including Nigeria and other African countries. So they'll be able to meet their supply obligations. In that specific case, one question you will specifically ask continuously is like, why can't we do it here? One of the disadvantage that Nigeria and most African countries have faced is not adding value to our raw materials before exporting them out of this country. And even the cocoa we're talking about and the chocolate that we talked about, there are countries who come here and export the cocoa out of Nigeria, and and Nigerians now import chocolate from those countries. And trust me, if you're exporting raw materials outside, most times the raw materials export does not really go out. The value cannot be compared to when the manufactured products have been imported back into the country. Currently, as we speak, not deviating from agriculture, gold, days without number, is being taken out of Nigeria, and with all the illegal mining taking place in the northern parts of the country. You take them out of this country, and we import trinkets and chains, wristwatches and rings back into the country. So when they had value to these raw materials and we are importing them back into the country, the price skyrockets. And do remember that gold is one of those items in the international foreign market, in the commodities market, and the price, even when it falls, it only falls just a little bit. It just keeps sustaining its level. Donald Trump, when he introduced the tariff, a lot of people went to the bank to withdraw their funds to go buy what? To go buy gold. And so the price of gold skyrocketed. They went there to sustain and preserve the value of their money. So if only Africa and indeed Nigeria can take a cue from this, and we can begin to create the enabling environment so we put added advantage or bring in more value into our raw materials, I don't think we will be going anywhere.
Even though Niger is under military rule at the moment, but I seem to like what they are doing. They are taking charge of their own
country, their own territory.
Their own territory, their own mineral resources. They are saying, no, you cannot come here. Okay, fine. Why not, instead of exporting this outside, why not partners with other investors outside the country? Come into our country, build the factories here, harvest it here, employ Nigerians. That way, we can also add to the economy. Do you understand? So instead of exporting it, refine it here. Do everything here. Build the factories here. You can give them tax incentives. You can do so many things to encourage these foreign investors. So that, yes, either way, Nigeria is benefiting. So if it's being manufactured here, if it's being produced here, part of it will be sold to Nigerians. And of course, at a subsidized rate or at a very affordable price.
Okay, I see that. Well, Lee Kuan Yew just told a part of what Olumide just said. That is what Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore did when he talking about development in his country. He went to contract those from the Western nations and telling them that, look, we have the raw materials and we have the capacity. You come into the country, you build your manufacturing hubs. We create the enabling environment for you to do that. You have the liberty to take out your capital or the profit you make back out of the country. But there were other areas of the agreement that was contracted with both parties, and the country Singapore became beneficiaries of that particular part of the agreement, and it trickled down to the benefit that we all see today, where Singapore has moved from the third world nation to a first world country as we speak. Let's just hope that the Ministry of Trade and Investment and other ministries and relevant ministries, including private enterprise participation, will look at this to make Nigeria not only the hub where the West comes to ferry out our raw materials, but also so we can build a nation where our raw materials will be used for ourselves, for the good of our people, and also for the benefit of the nations around us and entire humanity. Before we go, we have a special report for you, and it's tagged The Uniqueness of Africa. It's coming straight from you. It's coming straight to you, rather, from South Sudan.
When we talk about South Sudan, Africa's youngest nation, having gained independence in 2011, we often focus on its political journey or natural resources. But there's something else that holds deep generational value in South Sudanese lives, which is cows. In South Sudan, cows aren't just animals, they are everything. They are currency, they are status, they are identity. Among groups like the Dinka and Nuer, a man's wealth isn't measured in cash, it's counted in cows. Cows pay dowries, settle disputes, mark the birth of a child, and even the death of an elder. Boys grow up in cattle camps, learning not just to herd, but to lead. Songs are written about prized bulls. People name themselves after their cows. It's love, not ownership. And no, they don't eat them. Not casually. Cows are sacred. They are milked, admired, and even mourned. Only in rare ceremonies, funerals, farming, or great misfortune is a cow killed for food. To eat one is to part with a piece of your soul. I'm Moyosore Adibi for Just Africa, only on Souk News TV.
Welcome back. Many thanks for joining us. Thank you so much, Moyo. Cows. We could see that the bond between man and the cows goes beyond, just having them for food. And they are used for to settle
worshipped.
diaries. But apart from that fact that they are being worshipped, and because India also do that, but cows are used to settle diaries, and I don't know how many they used in South Sudan, and I don't think in Nigeria some of the young men will want to do that, to use cows to settle diaries and to pay for other things. But however, we understand that you could see the significance of that animal husbandry that has been cultivated, and how fathers have left their business, they've cultivated a business, and they are training their children to become part of the business and to inherit the business and to continue expanding the business. And this had to do, simply put, animal husbandry, and how this could be very important. Now, if you look at that, you could deduce from that look, from common knowledge, South Sudan should be a country that should be producing more dairy products.
Okay, well.
Yes, like dairy products, because if you are rearing cows.
They were saying parting with a cow. Killing a cow is like parting with your soul.
But they have to do it there because they also mention instances where they had to kill it.
Yes, and that's when they said it's parting with your soul. So they are predisposed, I would say, to
not to killing the cows.
Yes.
Well, ship it out. I'm sure that other parts of African countries that could make good use of it, because you don't want to talk about cows and the suya, we like call it the suya market or the suya industry. It's more like an industry in Nigeria, because every corner in the evening, from 7 p.m. upward, you go to every nook and cranny in Lagos and you get yourself some good roasted beef, garnished with onion, sometimes with garlic and with pepper. And
you can lace it up with bread.
With bread, I see. That's what you use for it. Well, it's time for us to go on the program Just Africa. This morning, it's been a wonderful moment with you this morning, talking to you about agriculture and some other good aspects in Africa that we have not explored to the fullest. Next time when we come your way again, we promise to bring in something more enticing, something more captivating, to take you on a ride for the time we've spent this morning. My name is Oyinpreye Krumale. Good morning to you once again.
And many thanks for tuning in to Just Africa. I am Olumide Sokoya. Do you have yourself a lovely day?